Hi and welcome back to Adara's Altar. This is another video on a series of tea on being a Christian virgin waiting for marriage. And I've continued this series honestly for visibility for virgins, specifically virgin young women, because my experience of being a Christian virgin waiting for marriage is that they're rare. A woman who waits until marriage and keeps her virginity into her 20s is not common. There are some women who say they're virgins in the church, but they're saying that because it looks good in the church. And I lost multiple, honestly, female friendships and connections because of women who lied about their body counts. And it sounds funny, I think it sounds really laughable, but it's a real thing that's actually happened. And so as a young woman who actually has been chaste my whole life, not by accident, this is just how my parents raised me. My mother was a virgin until she was 27 when she met my dad, who was her first kiss, first love, first everything. And her mother was a virgin until I think the age of 21 when her mother married her dad, so my grandpa, late Papa Reuben. And so I came from a very strict Christian, traditional Christian upbringing that highly valued chastity. I was partly raised by my mother's parents. And so the concept of being a virginal marriage, that was just something that before my grandpa died, like headship in my life, the man having a man in the home leading when I was a little girl. Because I was transparent that when I was little, my parents were separated, so I didn't grow up with my dad and met him as an adult. Though I love my dad, God, healed our relationship. My dad is one of my best friends, But when I was a little girl, even the man who was leading in the household when I was a little girl, who was my mother's father, he placed a high value on chastity for me. And I was taught from a young age by my mother and her parents that, hey, your mom and dad got separated and this was bad fruit that came from your mother having waited for her husband, but not until wedlock. And so that personal experience in my life caused me to place high value on keeping my virginity until wedlock. And in the church, I found that this is not as common once a woman becomes an adult as one might think. And so this series has been about transparency, about being open about the struggles of being a Christian virgin, in my 20s. As I shared in previous videos, I believed I had a marriage promise because other people, including my own mother, were testifying to have had dreams that seemed to show one specific guy I had met in person, like face to face in 2024 as my husband. Like one of the girls received a dream where I was like married with a ring, holding hands with a guy that was of the guy's race in front of a kitchen stove, and like in the dream, me and my husband, whoever that was, our own house. Another dream showed a wedding ceremony that the person who had the dream outside of my family, who was a wife, said that, oh yeah, it was you and that guy, like that was your wedding ceremony. And both of those dreams I just shared about came last year. And my mom also had received two dreams that I share about. One of them came when I was 10 years old and showed me with a man married to a man of the race. The other two girls outside my family, my mom's dream when I was 10 showed me married to a man of the same race. The husband that the two girls outside my family who received dreams of me married, that was the husband that they saw me married to in their dreams. So not my mom's dream, but those two girls' dreams. Same race all around. So I was convinced on account of this that I definitely did have a marriage promise, because in the Bible it is written in Numbers 12:6, Job 33, and Matthew 1 that God does speak to us through dreams. And God even told Joseph that Mary was his wife and commanded Joseph to take Mary as his wife based on a dream in Matthew 1. So all of that aside, it's just been a really weird experience, because this is what walking with God and endeavoring to stay chaste and keep my virginity until wedlock has looked like. It's been a struggle because the advice I was receiving from other women who claim to be Christian women did not help me focus, did not help me keep a sound mind when it came to the matter of sexual purity and chastity. And I really had to let go of a lot of different women and let God lead me in terms of the friendships that I had, and find other virgin women or wedding night virgin women, so they save their virginity for wedlock, to be friends with, to be my counselors and mentors. Because honestly, if a woman is not a virgin or did not save her virginity for marriage, it's just she doesn't get it. But in this video, the specific matter that I'm going to talk about in this specific video is how weird my experience of having waited as long as I have, you know, I have faith in God. Of course, I'm going to wait for marriage. But how weird that experience has been with other women because this is more personal, and that's a fair warning. But it is no secret on this channel that I am an Afro-Latina girl. I'm a Black Latina, and I was never like stick thin. There have been times in my life when I was fitter, when I was I was a runner. And so there were times in my life when I definitely like was not as, I don't want to say voluptuous because I don't want to use like a sexualized term, but I'll say plump as I am right now, especially when I was fasting and praying too. But it's been especially weird because my experience of having been a virgin as long as I have has shed light on how women see themselves and see other women. Because when I was growing up and didn't fully understand the value of waiting for marriage, sorry, I just tapped something on my phone. When I was growing up and didn't fully understand or see the value of waiting for marriage, what I understood to be the worst thing a girl could be growing up when I was like a little girl was to be obese. And so when I did struggle with my weight, I have been open that I was diagnosed with stage 2 endometriosis and adenomyosis. And so part of the stuff that I dealt with my weight did have to do with what I was going through in my health, which is why I've had to be strict and do a lot of research to see how I can get to and maintain a healthy weight all the time, regardless of what season of life I'm in. But the reality is that struggling with my weight growing up gave me a unique perspective of what women actually value in themselves and one another. Because I had the weirdest experiences with girls who were like skinny girls. I had a bunch of skinny friends as a chubbier girl. And the older I got, the more that I would observe that a girl who was very, in Spanish we call flaquita, delgada, you know, I am Puerto Rican, so flaquita, delgada, who was very thin, the more I would observe that if a girl was skinny, but she had a sexual past, and that came into question or up somehow, it didn't matter that I was, in terms of society standards, the chubbier lady. And thus there was some awkwardness with that because being skinny was more socially accepted for a woman. These girls would become practically insane. And it was so wild because I lost more than one friendship with a skinny girl. And ultimately when I looked back, it boiled down to the fact that even though the girl was skinny and she met society's basic standards in terms of like conventionally attractive ideals because she was skinny, her body count made her insecure as I don't know what. And her being aware that even though I was a chubbier lady, I still was a virgin, that got under their skin in a way that I was not able to even explain. And I know it had something to do with this because when I did find friends who were virgin girls who were skinny like that, they didn't behave like that. But when it came to a girl who was skinny, like there was one specific girl who was like so traditionally attractive. She had this hourglass figure. She was not just thin and beautiful, but also had like a nice figure, a nice feminine figure. She lost her mind one day when I was talking to her, this beautiful girl, simply over the fact that her body count was higher than mine and I was still a virgin. And this has caused me so many problems in female friendships that I'm talking about it for visibility for other virgin women who are chubbier like I am right now. And so I literally share this because this is an area where even though I've struggled with confidence as a young lady who is a virgin, because I'm not the skinniest girl in the world, it's something that shed light on the fact that on how women in general are seeing themselves. Because I didn't get it at the time. I'm like, girl, are you kidding me? Like, I know that you're not ignorant. Any woman under a rock, living under a rock, knows that people tease girls who are chubbier and not, you know, thin. And so what is your deal with me? It was literally just that I was still chaste. So I do want to share this because I think it does shed light on the body count conversation that I've seen among like conservative platforms and stuff. And the conversations on like body count does matter, even though people in this society full of hookup culture try to say it doesn't for women. I literally lost female friendships because certain women, even if they were conventionally super attractive, not just like in the face, but also like they were skinny and that was socially accepted, they couldn't stand me simply because I chose to not be sexually active before marriage. And so that was one of the weirdest things I've ever been through to this day in my life. And so I'm gonna leave this video on that because honestly, making these videos has been so healing and therapeutic for me. And as I process, you know, all my life in therapy and Christian therapy and, you know, spent more time in church, getting closer to God, serving more, these are just the things that it's like, if more people just talked about them and more people understood that this is happening, I think, I don't know, there's a possibility, I think it could avoid, like maybe virgin girls could avoid losing friendships. They could find, you know, more compatible female friends to be friends with. There would be less drama, cattiness, and all of that. Because I've literally had to stop having close friendships with girls who did not save their virginity for marriage because it got that bad. And as I shared, like, I have been in Christian therapy because all of this stuff and the unique struggles of remaining a virgin until marriage, you know, at my age of 24, took so much of a toll on my mental health. Those struggles took so much of a toll on my mental health that I really had to see how every area of my life was being impacted, including my relationships with my family, because of the drama I saw with girls who didn't do that and were covetous because they were insecure about their body counts. But I'm just gonna leave it there. God's will be done. And my prayer for undeserved, unmerited favor, I believe as Tia Brown, who was a virgin till she waived from marriage, said, is that this video reaches other virgin girls. Because I'm making this series because the videos and testimonies of other girls who actually remain virgins until marriage have been so healing for me and helped me feel so seen and not alone during this time. And this is the only reason I'm making these videos. But yeah, God's will be done.